Hi, my name is Sarah Butler, and I have a story for you. So grab your tissues, and I would get comfortable because it's quite a long story. Oh, and don't forget your mask. Haha, funny. Too soon? Okay, anyways. A little bit about myself. I've been a travel nurse for the last 2.5 years, meaning every couple months I move to a new city in a new state and work at local hospitals that need help. And with this job, I've been able to do some really cool things, and I've filmed my journey. Let me show you some of the good stuff. From a hot air balloon on my 25th birthday, to seeing pandas for the first time, which, yes, I cried like a little baby. And the sea turtles, so beautiful. Cruising up the coast of Virginia, and that time I got kicked off the beach in Virginia for surfing on an inflatable sea turtle. Weird, yeah. A little bit of cliff jumping and some diving, that was fun. And I got to hike to some pretty cool destinations. This time in particular, I swear I almost got frostbite.
Oh, there it is!
Look at it.
Whoa! Sorry.
Oh my god.
That's so cool.
Seeing Mount Rushmore for the first time and with my family, definitely on the bucket list.
I just won $1,600 on a game called Not in Kansas Anymore.
Ugh, the ice fishing.
No f***ing way! Water!
Spoiler alert, I didn't catch a damn thing.
Yes! Woo! I hit water!
Well, folks, that was the official start, so we're on our way.
And this was the time that I got to ride a train for the first time, which was also on my bucket list.
I'm living for this.
Crouch, Sarah, crouch. Down.
I'm scared.
Down.
Ready?
Get down. Go.
Peace out!
Facing my fear of heights, kind of.
Woo! Get clips. Your clips have you. Could have backed out by now, but no, Sarah. Keep going.
I don't know when to quit.
Keep going. 1.
And jumping into a freezing cold lake for literally no reason.
Holy shit, that is way cooler than I thought.
Surprising my parents from halfway across the country.
Oh my god! Calling you because I was gonna call the cops!
He definitely didn't know.
Surprise, motherfucker!
I knew you was a lying bitch. I knew you was a lying bitch.
And taking my parents to St. Louis for their birthday. My mom really always wanted to touch the arch, as you can tell.
We're seeing a medium.
Yeah.
I'm here and on the road again. Do you travel for work? Be surprised if you feel like someone's in the car watching.
Yeah, that was weird. But moving on, I got to keep my promise to a woman I met in North Carolina about a year prior that I would put my butt on the four corners for her because she never got to as a child. And then I went to Reno, the biggest little city in the world. And finally, talking about bucket lists, got to step foot in California.
Oh my god, I didn't tuck my legs. Holy shit. I slammed my knee on the rock and it's bleeding.
Yeah, I messed up there. But despite many challenges along the way, I was living my best life, as they say. Until 2020.
3,
2, 1. Happy New Year. 2020.
Woo woo! But honestly, I think we should start the story back in 2019. Because my contract in Reno is really where this all began for me. That's when the universe decided that things were going to take a turn, and not in a good way. 2 days before I was supposed to drive across the country to go to Reno, my entire bank account got wiped. And when I say wiped, I mean not even one of these bad boys. I went from about $4,000 to -$800. You're wondering why, right? Well, let me explain. See, several years prior, I had surgery for dentures. Yes, I said dentures. I know, weird to have that at my age, but I was born with a disease called amelogenesis imperfecta. So I knew from a young age that I would have to get dentures probably by the time I was 20. I spent a very long time building my credit score as a teenager, and when it came time for surgery, they said that you had to pay your half up front. Even though it was a disease I was born with, insurance would only cover 50%. So I got 4 credit cards, maxed out all 4 credit cards to pay $8,000 up front for this surgery, which completely wrecked my credit score, by the way. Messed up my face for a while, but as you can tell, things eventually got back to normal, paid off the credit cards, and moved on with my life, or so I thought. Because then, several years later, at the worst possible time, they decided to sue me. They said that I didn't pay my half up front. That's what they were claiming, right? But the whole stipulation of surgery was that it had to be paid before they would even touch me. So still to this day, I don't understand how they were able to sue me and wipe my entire bank account without my knowledge, but it happened and there was nothing I could do about it. But thankfully, my dad was able to take out a small loan to help me get across the country, as I had just signed a legal contract to work in Reno and had no choice really but to go. So he took out a small loan and helped get me across the country until I could start getting paid and get back on my feet. Those first 6 weeks in Reno, the cats and I somehow survived off of $37, which is a story for another day. Eventually started getting paid and paid him back and started to recover. Everything's all good, right? Wrong. Because a couple weeks after I got to Reno, I got this message one morning at work. Jamie finally got the call. They had a heart for her. And you may not know Jamie, but she's a cousin of mine. And let me tell you, as far as family goes, she's the best of the best. You see, Jamie and I go way back. This is her in the blue. Camera shy, unlike myself. And over to the right, that is my sister holding little me in the red. Cute, huh? You see, Jamie lived in Arizona, but I would see her every year for family reunions in Iowa, and I considered us pretty close. This is one of the last family reunions we had before I started traveling, and this is when I had to convince her brother to go to the hospital with chest pains because he had a massive heart attack. So when I got the message that morning at work, I immediately knew that I had to go. I wanted to be there for Jamie and our family. Even though my bank account had just been wiped out a couple weeks prior and I had only just received my first or second paycheck and I was barely recovering, I spent $800 on a plane ticket because that's what you do for family. I haven't picked up this camera in it feels like 10 years, but I am going to Phoenix. I went last month, didn't film. I filmed a couple little clips, I might throw them in here, but I didn't film it for family reasons, but I'm going again. It is 4:31 in the morning. I am exhausted. I worked the last 4 nights, and I just rushed around and packed last minute trying to get everything ready, but I'm gonna actually film some stuff while I'm there. I'm excited to see some family. I felt so isolated here in Reno for some reason. It's just now hitting. So I booked a last minute flight and flew out to Phoenix. Tell me how I even made it to the airport when my flight was an hour after I clocked out of work. I don't know, but I went and spent the week with her in the ICU. And then the next month, I decided to go again when she was released from the hospital. But that second time I went to Phoenix, I knew something was wrong right away. See, I got to her house before she did from the airport, and as soon as she got home from therapy, I knew something was wrong. She was shaking, had a fever, and just didn't look right. So I convinced her to go to the hospital, even though she desperately didn't want to go, and I said, hey, they'll probably just check you out and send you home, worst case scenario. No big deal, right? Well, wrong. They kept her for a long time. She ended up in the ICU again, and so that's how the rest of that trip went. So I went back to Reno, finished up the rest of my contract, and a couple days before I got back to Kansas, my childhood cat, Frosty, passed away. You see, Frosty was 24 years old, so it's not like any of us can say we were surprised. We knew it was coming inevitably, right? You can't have life without death. But it was hard. I never really got to say goodbye. And it was weird because she had been around since I was a baby, and this was the first time I was coming home to her not being there. It's not something you ever really get used to. So I spent the holidays with my family, and then...
3, 2, 1. Happy New Year! 2020. Where you going?
Phoenix.
You look a little comfortable to be going to Phoenix there.
I've done this far too many times. Comfy or bust. Last time for 3.5 months. Bye.
Be safe, please.
Well, yeah, always.
Love you.
Hey, at least I'll be smothered by family this time. A couple weeks later, I flew my parents and my sister out to come visit me.
Sarah's driving. We need lorazepam. Our nerves. We have a ride, big girl.
Okay, we be jamming. Let's go. Hit the mountain.
It was great at first.
How's the new job working?
Busy,
People dying on
stressful, people dying on me. It's been crazy.
She walked some dude to the bathroom and put him in bed, and he was gone in 10 seconds.
Yeah, work was, well, work.
It's fucking killing me.
I am in literal cactus heaven. But honestly, I was happy for the first time in a really long time because for 2.5 years before that, I had been in cities and states where I didn't have any friends or family. And it was really nice to be surrounded by loved ones. We went and did a lot of amazing things that first month, and I filmed all of it, and I was having a blast.
You get that on video.
Quickly fell in love with the saguaros. Dad. Come on, let's go. There is a trip that you have been thinking of taking. Go. You will make some valuable new contacts. I don't. Vegas, to Vegas we go?
Vegas, here we
That's the only one I've been thinking about. And really fell in love with the city of Phoenix.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, we'll go again.
Do not puke on me.
I'll try. You see, the whole reason I decided that Phoenix was going to be my next contract was for Jamie, because I really wanted to be there for her after her heart transplant. But it wasn't just for her, because as I said, I was starting to feel really isolated in Reno. And after 2.5 years of traveling by yourself, go figure, right? It was refreshing to finally be around people. Family, nonetheless. And filming videos and doing what I loved. Everything just seemed too good.
Ooh, first try.
Good job, Pepperoo.
Fresh
Off the tree.
I even got to sit in my dream car, 57 Chevy Bel Air.
Look at she.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Love the whole thing. My sister hit a jackpot.
How do you do that? Awesome.
And the food. Man, home cooked food after 2.5 years on the road, let me tell you, it hits different. And Jamie is the
I
best.
dropped your bottom piece. Hold on.
It's alright, it's alright.
I've been trying to catch you for 2 days. Say something smart.
No, Tyler doesn't know how to get here.
Between us, I guess I'm not a nice guy. Run to make it right. Was the last time I give you a chance to rewrite? 'Cause you fuck it up every time.
Did you get that on camera?
I did.
Yes! We're gonna see right now. That came on foot.
But you know what they say, all good things must come to an end. Yeah, I'm talking about COVID-19. But before we get there, something else happened first. So let me tell you about my cats. In fact, I can't believe I've went this long in a video without mentioning my cats. So this is Sage. I found her half frozen in the snow in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania when I was 17 years old. This is also when I found out I was allergic to cat milk. Weird flex. Apparently there's 7 different kinds of sulfur in it. Anyway, people like to call her the spawn of Satan. Even though she's really nice to me, she's mean to pretty much everyone else. And I just think she's protective, and I've lived alone for most of her life, so she's just not used to being around other people. I love her anyway, even though a lot of people don't like her. So she was my first, and I had her for about 3 years before I got any other cats. So when I turned 19, I moved into my first apartment. And that's when I decided that my parents couldn't tell me I couldn't get another cat. So I ended up with Cinnamon. This is her. Cinnamon was my cuddly love bug, picture perfect cat, right? Wouldn't hurt a fly. She was so sweet. Even Sage tolerated her, surprisingly enough. And we made quite the duo. Cinnamon always wanted to go to school with me. She was so clingy in the cutest way. And everyone loved Cinnamon. She was the polar opposite of Sage. Then comes Panda. See, when I was 16, I made a bucket list, and the number one thing on that bucket list was to get a black and white cat and name it Panda, because I was obsessed with pandas when I was a kid. When I moved into that apartment, I looked everywhere for a black and white cat. Surprisingly, even though there's usually tons of them, couldn't find one anywhere, so I ended up with Cinnamon. No regrets. A week later, when I went to my parents' house for family dinner on a Friday night, the neighbor's dog from across the street came running up to me as I was getting out of my car with a black ball of fur in its mouth, and that black ball of fur was Panda. And so I ended up with my trio. In 1 week, I went from 1 cat to 3. Little crazy, I know. That's okay. I don't care. Some travel nurses leave their pets at home when they go on contract, but honestly, I just couldn't imagine. I took my babies with me everywhere. I honestly think they really enjoyed the travel life. After that very first contract, they walked right into their boxes. I think they were excited to hit the road.
3 months.
Where are we? You look so confused. You have no idea what you're in store for. I don't know if they're gonna let me put him back in the car. Honestly, I think they really enjoyed exploring the new Airbnbs and hotels. Constantly new places to mark their territory and new things to jump on and new things to explore, right? And then that one time we broke down. Yeah.
Just waiting for help.
Hey, we made it. Run! We were in it for the long haul. Hey. Say hi. Hi, baby. Hi. Well, hi. Cinnamon. Feeding you. And Panda. Peanut. Hey, baby. What are you doing? Bird watching? Are you happy? It hurts to hold my arm like that. Holy shit. They all had their quirks.
You good, bro?
That one time Cinnamon almost messed up that prank. I have to call my parents and pretend like I'm on my way to work. Don't do that while I'm on the phone, please. Oh my god. Oh my god. You would start meowing. You haven't meowed the entire f***ing time. Cinnamon, I have to... Oh my god. I'm sorry.
There's a big cat. He likes me. It's so cute. He's super cute. He's a cookie kitty. She's rubbing on me.
This was our routine. In Reno, we got really close. Probably because I was living in an Airbnb that was probably about 10 foot by 10 foot, but we bonded there on a whole nother level. Cinnamon, are you ready for 2020? Yeah? You know we gotta hit the road in like a little over 24 hours. Kicking off the new year in Phoenix. Hey, it's 2020. Guess where we're going tomorrow? We're going back to Phoenix. Yeah. Shortly after I arrived in Phoenix, Cinnamon got sick. Like yesterday was the first time, like she tried to get on the bed and couldn't. She slipped off. And then she was too scared to jump up after that.
Get one of them big area rugs.
See if she can get up here. No, see? She just tried to jump up and couldn't, and this bed's like 2.5 fucking feet tall. She made it like halfway. She made it like halfway and hit her stomach, and then just like slid down and couldn't get back up. Come here, baby.
I'll make her do that.
Come here, baby. You okay? See, I picked her up under the stomach. I didn't even touch her legs when she went. You okay, baby? What's wrong with your legs? You never act like that. You never had problems walking. Stop. And like I pet all up and down her back and she purrs like, you know, like. At first I thought maybe she just sprained a muscle in her back legs, jumping off of some furniture or slipping on the tile, but I quickly realized that that wasn't the case. She got worse, and at a pretty rapid rate. So I started taking video for the vet. Everyone advised me that I should probably just wait it out for a few days and see if she gets better, but I knew my baby and I wanted to trust my gut instinct. I knew that something wasn't right just by the way that she was walking and the way that she was in pain. So despite what everyone was saying, I decided to take her to an urgent care clinic, which was a huge mistake. See, they had her for 4 hours that day. They said that she was so aggressive that they couldn't even sedate her and they never got anything done. So I got a full refund and then took her to this place, which is the Scaredy Cat Hospital. 10 out of 10 would recommend. So when I took her to the Scaredy Cat Hospital, they were able to sedate her in less than 5 minutes. And they did x-rays, blood work, and the whole 9 yards, right? Couldn't find anything wrong except for maybe a possible small hairline fracture at the base of her tail. That was all they said. That and that she was constipated. Remember that because that will come into play later on. So not knowing what it was, they gave her some steroids and some pain medicine and sent her home. And on the steroids, she started walking a hell of a lot better. I was really hopeful. And I shouldn't have been. Because as soon as she finished the steroids, she started to struggle again. But worse than the first time. And it was like pulling teeth to get more steroids from the vet, but they eventually gave me some, and I started her back on it, thinking maybe she needed to be on it just a little while longer. And then, that was about the time that COVID-19 hit. Don't you just get tired of it? So I remember when the pandemic started, it was honestly surreal going to the store, seeing it like this, the public panic, the news, nonstop. Things were progressing quickly, and I honestly had no idea how much my life was about to change. The public panic got so bad that I started seeing stories in the news about nurses getting beat up and run out of the grocery stores, and so much so that one day on my way to work, when I was pumping gas in my car, a middle-aged Mexican man came out of the gas station and threw a drink at me. His reasoning? I was the reason people were getting sick. I shouldn't be out in public, even though I was just trying to get gas to go to work, to take care of his community and my people. I never told my parents this because I didn't want them to worry. And next thing I knew, I was being sent to the COVID units. And in the beginning, it was chaotic, to say the least. There's a lot that I wish I could say, stories that I wish I could tell, but because of HIPAA, I can't. But what I can say is that, well, in the beginning, the CDC, as we all know, couldn't make up their goddamn mind. Every day I went to work, it was different expectations. One day they would say, you only need to wear a surgical mask. It's not airborne. And then the next day I would come to work and they would say, you have to wear an N95. It's airborne. Well, and then the next week they would say, we can only give you one N95 and you have to wear it for every single patient, whether they have COVID or not. You have to keep it on the entire shift. Which in nursing school, they teach us those are all single use. So it was weird for us because we're used to, one and done, use it and throw it away, don't cross-contaminate into other patients' rooms, right? Well, this was different because we were in the middle of a global pandemic and there was very quickly a shortage of supplies. So we had to do what we had to do. And I understand that. It was just really hard to wrap my brain around that. Every day was different. I don't think a lot of nurses will admit this because nurses like to put on a tough act. And honestly, most of the time we're not acting because in our day-to-day life and our work, we see a lot of crazy things that people probably couldn't even imagine in other professions. And I'm not saying it's the toughest profession. I'm not looking for sympathy or pity, but we see a lot of crazy shit. It does make us tougher because we have to learn how to cope with that in order to do our job. And so we learn how to deal with things and how to cope with things pretty early on in our career. And so in the beginning, I didn't really feel that scared, but I quickly realized that I think all of us were, at least 1% deep down. This was something of a different breed that none of us were really prepared for. And so all those people on social media and in the news saying that this is what you signed up for, do me a favor and go fuck yourself. Because this is not what we signed up for. And yes, as you can tell, the mask that I'm wearing in this clip is not from the hospital. Because of the shortage of supplies, a lot of us had to go to local paint stores to try to find N95 or similar masks to wear into the COVID units. This particular mask I had to wear every day for a couple weeks until another nurse found another respirator and was nice enough to give it to me. One that fit better and was better quality. About a week after working in the COVID units, yes, that quickly, I ended up sick. Go figure. And so I had to quarantine. Honestly, the only symptoms that I had was a low-grade fever for about 4 days and some mild body aches. It wasn't bad, and I didn't think that I had COVID.
Maricopa County Public Health, this is Julie.
Hey, my name is Sarah Butler. I'm a travel nurse who's working here on contract, and I was told to give you guys a call by my company because I spiked a fever last night. So I guess I was supposed to report it to you guys.
Okay, let me get your information. Give me 1 minute here. Okay, so you just need some information for testing?
I suppose so, I guess. I don't know. They just told me to call you and report.
Okay, I will go ahead and forward this information to one of our nurses. They will call you back. It may show up as an unknown or a restricted number. If you could just make sure you answer that call because it's likely that it'll be one of our nurses calling you back.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, you're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for calling Dignity Health. This is Rita. How may I direct your call?
Hey, my name is Sarah Butler, and I'm a travel nurse that works with you guys. My manager told me to call the hospital number and speak with, I think she said the employee health or something, health department. She didn't give me a number or anything.
Okay, so employee wellness?
Yeah.
Employee health services, Deanna?
Hey, my name is Sarah Butler, and I'm a travel nurse that works with you guys.
Okay.
Miss my manager told me to give you guys a call because I spiked a fever on and off over the last 2 days, and she wanted me to call you guys and report that to you.
Okay, 1 second. Okay, I'm taking messages for them. So you said that you had a fever for the past 2 days, and you're just calling to get screened so you can return to work, or what are you trying to do?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I mean, she just told me that I had to call you guys. I think she said for possible screening questionnaire, but I don't know as far as after that, but...
Okay. Alright, let me just write that down. Okay, and then you said his name was Sarah Butler?
Yes.
And then could I get your ID number? Alright, Sarah, let me give you a call back by today.
Okay.
Alright, thank you.
Thanks, bye. They never called back, and I never got tested, which was okay because I knew that those tests could be going to better places. So I finished my quarantine. Oh, okay. My mom sent me a care package today since I'm not allowed to leave the house. I'd say that's enough Tylenol to last me a lifetime. I'll take it to check my oxygen. Ooh, a thermometer. Ooh, blood pressure cuff. So, I was almost out and I couldn't find any, and now I can't go anywhere. And lots of hand sanitizer. Cool. Awesome. Thank you, Mom. Okay. I'm gonna set you down for a second. This is care package from Mom. And we got Sage's favorite treats that they don't make anymore. Or they don't sell in stores anymore. 4 packs. You don't know what this is until I open it, but you're gonna love me in a second. Whole ass can of Lysol. And she sent me this Bean Boozled game to play and film a video by myself if I get bored so that I still have content for YouTube. Because I told her, I was like, I'm worried about not having content for YouTube because I can't go anywhere, everything's closed. So we were talking and she sent me this. She's like, you could film that at home, that'd be funny. And then...
Do it. I'll watch it. I've already ate them all, but they're fucking nasty.
And then...
Mason made me fucking do it.
I got a brand new free pair of scrubs from Calumet, if I can get them open. And I'm pretty sure they have the, let me see, the logo on the side. Oh, yes. Bro, I'm telling Noah I need some more of these because talk about repping your fucking company. I love that. So after 10 days of quarantine, they sent me back to work and I went back to the COVID units. And at this time, I had run out of medication for Cinnamon and she wasn't doing so well. You see, the vets didn't want to give me a third bottle of the steroid, which I understand. She was only 6 years old at the time, and they were worried about long-term damage to her kidneys and other vital organs. But when she was off of the steroid, she just wasn't doing well. She spent most of her days laying in the back of the closet and not wanting to get up because she was so uncomfortable and was struggling to walk. I had to bring the food and water to her and help her to the litter box at this point. She couldn't get in it by herself, and even then, she had a hard time holding up her back end. This is when the panic really started to set in. I knew something was really, really wrong. I knew from the get-go, but as the weeks went by and it continued to get worse, and I continued to take her to the vet with no answers, that's when my brain started thinking worst case scenario. This was really hard for me to cope with because she was only 6 years old, like I said. I mean, she was a young, otherwise healthy cat who had never really had any major health problems. So for her to be acting like this, and for me to see it, was a struggle. I mean, every day I would come home from the COVID unit and I would have to spend an hour with her before I could go to bed, feeding her and giving her water and making sure that she's using the litter box. And I'd go to sleep and get up a couple hours before work and do it all again. At this point, I was kind of starting to run on fumes. I was frustrated, no answers. Between work and Cinnamon, I really didn't have much left to give, I felt. But my love for her kept me going, and I kept pushing. Giving up was not an option.
Yeah? You drink? You haven't drank for me all day. Yeah, good girl. Drink. Good girl. Drink some more. As much as you can. Come on. I know you can do better than that. Yeah, good girl. Good girl. Tinamo, good job. Good job, baby girl. Oh, you're missing it. There you go. Good job. Is that good? That's bottled water. You get the fancy stuff now. Okay. Good job. Good job. Good job. Good job. Good job, baby. Good job. You did so good. You did so good. You okay, baby? You did so good. You did so good, baby girls. You okay, baby girls? Look, you're up. You're up. I know, you did so good, baby girl. You wanna try to use the litter box?
During this time, my sister's dog Jade was dying of cancer. Until one day I got this message. It was hard to imagine, just like with Frosty, going to Heather's house and Jade not being there anymore. She had always been there. She was such a sweet dog, but she's gone now. And I know that was really hard for my sister, all the while she was helping me cope with Cinnamon. Most people were telling me that I was wasting my time at the vet and I was letting them take advantage of me and my money, but my sister was always supportive. She understood because of what she went through with Jade. And so I kept pushing, and when my primary vet ran out of options, she referred me to a neurologist. Hello?
Hi, this is Sarah from Veterinary Neurological Center calling in regards to Cinnamon.
Yes.
Hi, how can I help you?
If and when we could do her MRI, if you guys were even still offering those services or not.
So right now we're looking a little bit more towards an emergency basis. We're a little short-staffed as far as that goes. So we are scheduling quite for more emergent cases as far as that is. I'm just getting into Cinnamon's file right now, and I see you had called last week.
Yeah.
As far as some recommendations from Dr. Moore, how has Cinnamon been doing?
Not good. I have to like hold her back end up and like pick her up and put her in the litter box because she can't like get in it anymore, and she can't like hold her back end, like the weight up anymore. Her feet just like slip out from under her. So I have to like pick her up and put her in there and like kind of hold my fingers underneath her belly to like keep her back end up while she goes to the bathroom or whatever. That's kind of where I'm at with where she's at. She still has like a good appetite, but I have to like bring the food and water to her. Like she won't get up anymore. She just like lays in bed all day, and I'll bring the food and stuff to her and she eats and drinks. But she's just like not really like walking, and when she does try, her legs just like go flat. She still has some movement there. They're just like to the point where they're so weak. She's having a hard time even like just holding up her own body weight. And I'm just worried that like not knowing what's going on, that like she's gonna be permanently like paralyzed or something if I don't treat her soon.
So Dr. Moore is out of the office for the next couple of days. So what I'm going to do is double check with another doctor, see if they have any scheduling recommendations for us as to when we could potentially get something on the books for Cinnamon. And then we'll be in touch likely some point tomorrow. If you haven't heard from us by, I'd say maybe 4 o'clock tomorrow, go ahead and give a call just to check on the status of that and see where we're at as far as any recommendations for you. And then we'll kind of go from there, okay?
Okay. See, the thing is, I had already taken her to see this neurologist a month prior for the initial appointment, and I decided that I wanted to proceed with the MRI, but yet it never happened. I kept calling week after week and wasn't getting anywhere, so I started doing my own research and found one other vet in the city of Phoenix that had an MRI machine.
Hi, thank you for calling Animal Medical and Surgical Center. This is Jessica. How can I help you?
Hi, my name is Sarah Butler, and I just had a question for you guys. You guys, are you even offering, like, services right now? Sorry, the COVID and all that.
Yes, we are. We are offering some services, like not elective surgeries, but what are you trying to schedule?
I've been trying to get my cat in to be seen somewhere. She's like losing mobility in her back legs. She's been to like 2 other vets here. I've been here since January, and they've been like doing a whole workup and couldn't find anything. So they were gonna do an MRI, but now because of the COVID and stuff, they can't see her.
Oh, okay. Let me place you on hold for just a moment.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't know what I'm gonna do if they say no. This sucks.
Thank you so much for holding. This is Megan. How can I help you?
Hey, my name is Sarah Butler. It's kind of a long backstory, but I guess in short, my cat has been having trouble walking, and I did like a workup at a primary vet here who referred me to a neurologist, and we were like getting prepared to do like an MRI and possible surgery or something, and then now they're not really like offering services anymore because of the COVID thing. So I'm just trying all of my options. I'm just worried if I wait much longer, she's gonna be like completely paralyzed. She's got like very little mobility left in her back legs, so.
Gotcha, and it's both back legs, right?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Have you been here before, Sarah?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see if when our next available consult is for neuro, because they would love to, see your cat and see what's going on here. Do you want me to take a look at this week for appointments, or?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, let's take a peek. It looks like Friday we still have a few openings. We've got an 8, a 9, or an 11 for consults.
Okay, Friday you said. 9 o'clock will probably be fine.
Okay, 9 o'clock. Do you mind if I just get some information from you so I can get you going in the system?
Sure.
Okay. All right, so I'll go ahead and add a note just so we kind of have an idea, and I'll go ahead and request some records, but for right now I have you down for 9 a.m. on Friday with Dr. Yeamans.
Okay.
Okay, and is there anything else you wanted to add to that, or is there any question that you had at this point?
No, I don't think so. I'm just trying to get her in somewhere, so that's helpful.
No,
Thank
I
you.
get it.
But,
let's see. Just so you know, we do have kind of a curbside protocol right now, just with the coronavirus going on. So we just ask that for your appointment when you get here. We have these numbered signs in the parking lot, so just park at one of the big numbers and give us a call. Our number is listed out there, and just let us know what spot you're in. We'll come to you.
okay, that works. Thank you.
All right, perfect. We'll see you Friday.
All right, thank you.
No problem. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
It's Tuesday, April 21st, by the way. So that's... And my contract ends in 2.5 weeks. Ugh. God. So at least that way, if the other neurologist vet doesn't get back to me and get something scheduled, I can get her in there. So that gives me 3 days to hopefully let the other vet get their shit together, and then if I don't hear anything from them, I'll take her to there on Friday. I hate to start over somewhere new, because just like the initial exam is like a couple $100. It's fucking expensive to keep taking her to new vet after new vet, but I don't really have any other choice at this point. So if I have to take her there and spend $300 just for her to be looked at and then bring her back for an MRI, it is what it is. I mean, I don't have any other choice right now. So I don't know. That's just where I'm at with it. It's just, it's literally, what did I say? April 21st, right? Yeah, it's April 21st, and this has literally been going on since like January 15th, and I still have no answers, and she's still suffering, and I've spent so far over $2,500, and I've seen 3 different vets, and not a damn one of them can give me any kind of answer. She's had 10 x-rays on 2 separate occasions. She's had blood work done 3 times. All 3 times which she's had to be sedated for, because her anxiety at the vet because of the pain right now is really, really bad. And at the next step is what they've all told me is like, oh, MRI. That's why I was referred to a neurologist, because the primary vet didn't have an MRI machine at that clinic. They didn't do them there. So I went and saw another neurologist in Phoenix somewhere. And I brought her in, and they did the neurological exam, and they were like, well, she was on steroids at the time, which was kind of messing up the neurological exam. It was masking some of the symptoms. So they're like, well, wean her off of the steroid and then bring her back. And I'm like, to take her home and take her off meds that are somewhat helping her a little bit, at least giving her a little bit of relief, just so she can suffer, just to bring her back in for you to look at her for 10 minutes and spend another $250 to $300 for another exam, just for you to probably end up telling me you have to do an MRI to diagnose anyway. I refused, because why would I do that? It's just to let her suffer when she's going to have to need an MRI. Like, they can't, even if I brought her in when she was off of the meds, they can't diagnose with their eyeballs. Like, yeah, it may help them, like, point them in the right direction as far as, like, a diagnosis. But even then, like, the couple things that they're throwing at me, brain tumor, valley fever in the bone or spinal cord, because we tested her blood and she was negative, but the neurologist is still not like 100% sure that we can rule out valley fever, because these symptoms started after we got to Arizona and she had never been here before. That, or they're thinking something to do with like the spinal cord, either a lesion like cancer or some kind of spinal cord compression or disc injury or swelling to where she would need like surgery like they would do on humans to like relieve the pressure if she's had like a blown disc or something. Like, all those things. I mean, yeah, like if I brought her in off of the medicine a month ago or whatever and they did another exam and I shelled out another $250 to $300, I still would have had to bring her back for the MRI. So I just refused. Because they still, like, yeah, they might be like, oh, I do think it's spinal versus brain tumor, but they still have to do a fucking scan to find out anyway. So I told them, I was like, no, like, I want to just proceed with the scan. So they quoted me for it, and I was like, all right, so I'm going to do it. Yeah, it's a lot of fucking money. It's like $3,000 alone, out of pocket, just for the MRI, not including the sedation, the care, the visit fee, the whatever other medications that they have to give, blood work that they'll probably do while she's sedated, because might as well, so we don't have to sedate her again. They may possibly do like a spinal tap is what they were talking about, depending on what they see when they do the MRI. I've called, and I keep calling. I've called 3 fucking times to schedule this MRI, and every single time they tell me, somebody will be back with you in an hour. And they never fucking call me back. And I've been patient, and it's to the point where, like, I don't know what to do anymore because she's losing mobility in those back legs so fast. And, I'm just worried she's going to be, like, permanently paralyzed if they don't do something very soon. And I get that, like, the COVID and everything. Like, I get it. I'm working the front line with the COVID. I get it. Like, and I know things are weird right now, and I don't want to sound like selfish. It's just really shitty timing to have this kind of problem with my cat. And it's just been super stressful. Like, I've been so many times, and I've spent so much fucking money and no answers, and they just keep blowing me off. And I feel like, and then now, like, I'm finally like, okay, I have the money for the MRI, and I'm ready to do it, and I want to get it done, and now they can't, because COVID. I'm so sick of COVID, working with it, and being on the front line, and not on, like, just everything in the news, and nurses getting bashed, and then on top of that, like, my cat may end up paralyzed because of it. Like, I just fucking can't anymore. It's so stressful. Whatever's going on is not a minor thing. And it may not be treatable. And I've been mentally preparing myself for that. And but even then, like, I still feel like I have to try to do testing. Because it may very well be something treatable, and whether it is or isn't, like, I need to know that I tried to give her the best life that she could have, and I can't just, like, sit around and watch her, like, struggle to walk, and, like, she can't even, like, get up and go to the litter box anymore, or get up and go get food anymore. I just wish they would get that. It's been 3 months of agony with her, and giving her medication and taking her to the vet and doing this and doing that and shelling out all this money with no answers. I just want to fucking know what it is, whether it's treatable or not. I just want a fucking answer. Like, she's gonna probably die before I get one. And it's gonna eat me alive, I think, but at least I can say I tried. It's not my fault that COVID is fucking a problem right now. I can't say I didn't try, but I'm not done yet. I'm not done pushing them yet. I'm gonna keep pushing.
until she's either no longer around or I get some shit done. Like I said, I don't even know why I'm talking to the camera right now. I don't know that I'm ever going to even post this online, but if I ever get an answer, whether she makes it through it or not, whether it's treatable or not, then maybe I'll share this. There's no point in sharing it, really, if I don't know what it is. It's not going to help people at all. But if I ever get an answer, I might. Because I know how maddening this has been for me. And how uncomfortable it's been for her. So if I could help anyone, that would be cool. But right now, I don't know any more than I knew 3 months ago when she first started limping. So because the vets didn't want to give me any more medication, the little bit that I had left, I was making it last. I was giving her microdoses. I mean drops. Just to get her by as long as possible. And then... This is Sarah.
Hi, this is Sarah from Veterinary Neurological Center calling in regards to Cinnamon.
Hey, yeah.
Hi, thank you for calling. Sorry I haven't gotten back to you yet. So we do have some recommendations for you from the doctor who's able to review this. One, she said we can schedule a drop-off MRI sorry, I already found out the spot. Let me just find out for Tuesday the 28th, so this upcoming Tuesday, if that works for you.
Okay, Tuesday the 28th.
Yes. And then we were looking at a 9 a.m. drop-off time, if that works.
Yeah, I mean, I work night shift, so any time during the day is fine.
Great. And then with kind of COVID going on, we do have some safety protocols in place. So what you'll do is once you come to the parking lot, give us a call, let us know that you've arrived and you're outside. And then we do ask that you wear a mask as well.
Okay.
And then someone will come out to do the paperwork and handle the deposit for the MRI. And then obviously someone will be out then for Cinnamon as well. Likely the doctor will come out and touch base, but if they are caught up in an appointment, it may just be a technician, just so you're aware.
Okay. The only other question I think I had, are they doing, I just wanted to make sure we didn't make the same mistake that we did with the x-rays at the other vet. Are they doing like the full body? Because like at the other vet, they sedated her and then only did like her lower spine, and then we had to re-sedate her the next week to do the rest of her body. And I just thought I'd ask in advance to see if they were planning on just doing the whole body to not miss anything, so we don't have to do this a second time.
Again, that I'll ask of the doctor. I'm not really sure in that regard what the plan is for that. And then we can, let me just see real quick if I have access to this. If I have access to that estimate, it may or may not let me know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because it didn't, on the estimate they sent me, it didn't really like specify, and I thought I would ask in advance so I don't run into the same issue, you know. Try to spare her another time of being sedated.
Alright, so I can't tell from my side of things, so I'll put in that question from the doctor to see if there's, they can provide a little bit more of an explanation in that as to what the expectation is.
Okay. I think that's it then. Thank you so
Good.
much.
Well, you have a good weekend. Well,
Yeah.
not weekend. Today's Wednesday. I don't know what day it is.
I don't know anymore
In a
either.
few days.
But yeah, I guess you have a good weekend, and I'll touch base with you guys sometime in a few days or something.
Alright, sounds good.
Thank you.
Of course.
Bye.
Bye.
I can't believe we actually got the MRI scheduled. I've literally been fighting for this for her for so long, it feels like. And now it's just like a couple days away. I might finally get an answer after a couple months of her struggling. I don't know if I'm prepared for this.
I'm a little nervous to see how she's going to handle the sedation. I know there is a small risk of her not making it through it, but I mean, I've just thought about, I've had more than enough time to think about this, and I feel like it's really my only choice at this point, because her quality of life right now is continuing to just go down, and I feel like for her best interest, we need an answer, and then once we finally get the diagnosis, then we can, like, I can decide where to go from there as far as if it's treatable, if it's not treatable, how to keep her comfortable. But it's hard to do that, not having an answer, so I feel like this is something that I need to proceed with. I'm supposed to work Monday night and drop her off Tuesday morning, so that's going to be fun. If I don't leave work until 8 o'clock and get home at 8:30, and this vet is all the way on, like, the west side of Phoenix, might be cutting it a little bit close. I'm going to try to film some stuff with her and enjoy these couple days with her just in case. Then hopefully Tuesday I'll have an answer and an update, and finally know what these last 3 months of hell have been for. So we'll see. I spent every second with her that weekend, not knowing what was coming up. As you can imagine, a million thoughts running through my mind. I had no idea what to expect. I had no idea what to prepare for. And I think anyone in that situation would have probably felt the same. So I spent as much time with her as I possibly could that weekend. And all we did for 3 days was lay in bed and just cuddle. I loved on her as much as I could, patiently waiting for the day that we finally got an answer. And then we finally did.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Yeah. We should have an answer today, baby girl. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you, Cinema. Yeah. Aww. Cinema. Today is the day, baby. I'm sorry ahead of time. I didn't even bring a backup battery because I wasn't planning on really filming much but dropping her off. We'll see. My camera may end up dying, but we're here, so there's really not much else to it. I'm just gonna drop her off and then go home and wait it out. Oh, I know she's supposed to bring me some paperwork, so it might take a minute to get the paperwork done, get it signed. It's so weird with COVID. Yeah, there's someone. Having to, like, drop my pet off from the car and, like, do the paperwork and stuff from the car. It's so strange. It's such a strange world we're living in. I respect it. It's just, like, it's just such a weird thing and, like, something just I've never seen before. I don't think any of us really expected to really see something like this in their lifetime, but here we are, living through a pandemic, and I can't even, like, take my baby in. I gotta, like, drop her off, and I know that's such, like, small world problems, but, you know, it's just so weird that, like, oh, here we are. Hi, good morning.
Sorry.
Is that Cinnamon?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, Dr. Moore wants to do a quick recheck examination on Cinnamon really quick before we start.
Okay.
So I'm gonna wait to, like, do all the financial portion with you, and he's just gonna examine her real quick. So
Okay.
we're just gonna grab her from you and then we'll be back out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay?
It's unlocked.
Okay.
You're good to go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Dr. Moore will be right out.
Okay, thank you. Hi.
So how has Cinnamon been doing since I last saw you?
Not good. Just pain. Lots of pain.
And can you tell where she's painful?
I was feeling like kind of how you were like real slowly poking around and stuff like that. Her tail and then her stomach. So like when I would kind of go around like on the sides of her tail, just kind of graze my fingers down, she really did not like where it connects to the body, like the base of the tail.
Okay.
And then the other thing I noticed was like her stomach. Whenever I even just barely touch her stomach, all of the muscles would like tense up.
Yeah, she does seem distended and didn't like it when I felt her belly. But as far as the tail pain, I didn't reproduce that just by
palpating or anything.
But have you noticed any difficulty walking or anything like that?
I mean, she still had like the same limp, and it's, you know, the steroid is starting to not work so, like as well as it did when I first started her on it, because when I first started her on it like 2-3 months ago or whatever, she was like playing and jumping and stuff, and now it's just kind of barely skating her by to where she'll get up to eat and drink on it, but I mean, that's about it. Like, she still kind of lays the rest of the day. She's uncomfortable, so.
All right. Well, we'll start just by taking x-rays while she's asleep.
Okay.
And that way we can kind of include the belly. But then from there, to look at the spine and see if that's the source of her pain, we'll do the MRI. And then depending on what we see on the MRI, if this seems like an inflammatory condition, if I don't see any compression, then I can do a spinal tap before she wakes up. How old is she?
She is getting ready to turn 7. She's not that old.
That's pretty young for a cat to have a tumor, but it's not impossible.
Yeah.
It just depends on the type, but you know, she would be a more appropriate age to have something like a disc problem.
Yeah.
Which is pretty rare in cats, but there's actually I just scanned one last week, oddly enough, that has a disc problem.
Yeah.
So it all just kind of starts with taking pictures, and we'll see if we can sort out the cause of her discomfort.
Okay.
She does seem to walk a little bit funny in the back end as well.
Yeah, and I restarted her back on the steroid because she went like 10 days without it.
Okay. I
was trying to, because it was so hard to even get the second bottle from the other vet, which I get. I don't want her to be on it long term either, but I went like 10 days without it, and she couldn't even like lift up her back end. Her feet do this weird thing, like it's like she's walking on ice. They like slip.
Yeah, they're slipping a little bit now.
Yeah.
She's real shy, so it's tough to get her to walk around, but I do see it. I mean, I think it makes sense to start taking pictures. Last time I saw her, I think she looked better.
Yeah, the steroid was doing better then, and now it's not working so well.
We'll start taking pictures and see if we can figure out why. Okay?
Okay.
But she'll be here the day with us. We'll just keep you updated over the phone.
So pickup is this afternoon, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I can head home?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Alrighty.
Thank you for coming to talk to me.
You're welcome. I'll have somebody come up with the paperwork to send.
Okay.
So I went home, and honestly, if I had had one wish that day, it would be to do this. Fast forward time. Every second waiting for them to call felt like pure agony.
Hi, it's Julie calling with Veterinary Neurological Center.
Hi.
Hi, I was just calling because Dr. Moore wanted me to set up a discharge time for Cinnamon.
Okay.
Could you do 5:15 or 5:20?
Yeah, that's fine. 5:15.
Okay, perfect. Just give us a call once you've arrived, okay?
Okay. They didn't tell me anything. I don't know if that's good or bad. It's only 12:30, so I still got a long time to pick her up. I mean, that's good. I guess that maybe that means they're done with the scan, and she tolerated the procedure well, I guess, the anesthesia and all that stuff. So I'm gonna actually call them back. I don't know why I didn't ask. Like, I don't know if they'll want to tell me anything over the phone, but it's gonna bug the fuck out of me. So hate to be annoying, but I'm gonna make sure they even did the MRI.
Veterinary Neurological Center. Are you here for an appointment, or is there something else I can help you with?
No, this is Sarah Butler. They just called about Cinnamon to pick her up at 5. I didn't ask. Did they figure out what it was? I mean, did they get the MRI and stuff done?
Okay. So yeah, if she has her discharges, then doctor will go over everything with you at time of discharge.
Oh, okay. So they did get it done. I just wanted to make sure.
I'm not sure what they've done or whatnot, but doctor will go over whatever it is that they did do at discharge for you.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Are you okay? What are you doing? Panda? Hello? You staring at yourself? Panda, what's wrong with you? Hello? Are you good? You're weird. Okay. Freaking weirdo distracting me. Yeah, so that doesn't help. I don't know. I guess I just have to wait. Well, I just have to wait until 5, so.
Julie calling with Veterinary Neurological Center.
Hey.
Hi. Dr. Moore wanted me to call you. His surgery that he was going to do this afternoon canceled, so he actually has availability sooner to release Cinnamon. So I was wondering if you could do like 3:30 or 3:45.
Yeah. What time is it? 3 o'clock now.
It's
Yeah.
3 now.
It'll,
Like
yeah.
3:45.
Yeah.
Okay,
That'll
perfect. We will see you then.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
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 I literally just dozed off because I didn't sleep worth a shit last night. Oh my god. I gotta get back in the car. Here we go.
And after a couple months of hell, it all came down to this one moment. A moment that will live with me for the rest of my life.
So, we finally have an answer, and it's not good. She has, cancer in her spinal cord. Oh, fuck. I don't even know.
Yeah. Fuck cancer.
Then she has a bandage on her left front leg where her IV was. You can leave it off for about an hour and then take that off, okay?
Okay. Thank
Stay close if you need anything, okay?
Thank you.
On my way home with her, my car broke down. It really never stops, does it?
Okay, so got set up with a little bed because this is where she wants to stay. I think this is where she feels safer. She took a little nap on the bed and then she got up and came in here, so I brought her made her own little food and water bowl. Sorry, it's a little dark in here, but this is kind of where she wanted to lay, so I just made my own bed and I'll sleep in here, I guess. And then Sage decided to join us. So this is where we'll lay. And then Panda's got the whole bed to herself for now. 11 o'clock on Tuesday, April 28th. The day we finally got an answer. Not a very good one, but now that we have a diagnosis, I guess, just kind of monitor and I'll update here and there on how the rest of her time goes. One more thing. Sounds kind of weird, but I made a litter box. It's kind of dark. With a cookie sheet. And I'm sure there's going to be litter all over the floor when I wake up, but these are so tall that with her spine and stuff, it's just, I've been having to pick her up and put her in there because it's just too hard for her to get up there and it hurts. So at least that she can walk right onto it.
and she doesn't have to jump. Yeah, it's gonna be messy and it's gonna be dirty, but hey, it's what keeps her comfortable, so she won't have to jump up on the litter box to go to the bathroom, which is nice. So I did make that, because, you know, with COVID right now, I can't exactly like run to the grocery store and grab a new litter box. So you do what you gotta do in desperate times. So I thought that would help her a little bit too. So yeah, I'm just gonna cuddle with her and go to bed and hopefully film a little bit with her every day. The one good thing about finally having a diagnosis, the vets were more than willing to give me any medication that I wanted. They were no longer holding back on that medication that was helping her. So they gave me more, and I started giving it to her every day, more than once a day, just to make her comfortable. And very quickly, I could see some relief. It was nice. Something that we started her on in the very beginning, because we thought she had a sprain, ironically ended up being the drug that she needed for cancer. And truthfully, if we hadn't somehow luckily ended up on this drug from the get-go, she probably would have died a lot sooner. Because of the pandemic, I ended up extending my contract 5 more weeks from the initial end date because the hospital needed help and things were really picking up at this time. So I kept working, going to the COVID units. By this time, the units were overflowing most days. Even when I worked in the ER, we had patients on beds in the hallways because we didn't have enough rooms for them all. This is only a couple months in, so doctors were still unsure of how to treat this disease. They were giving us orders for antibiotics and other drugs, and we were throwing everything at these patients in a desperate attempt to save them. The weirdest thing of all, it was our middle-aged patients that were the ones dying. I saw more deaths in the age range of 30 to 50 than any other group. Usually it's the kids and the elderly that struggle with illness because of their weakened immune systems, but this disease was unpredictable and different from what we were used to. And at this time, we were learning that the list of symptoms was a lot longer than we initially thought. It wasn't just the patients coming in with coughs. Some had no cough but had GI symptoms. Some had neurological symptoms. It started presenting itself in so many different ways that we realized it could be anyone walking through the doors. At this point is when I noticed something for the first time in my career. If you don't know anything about the inner workings of a hospital, let me tell you there is usually a clear-cut divide. You have the ER, the floor, and the ICU. Those are the main 3. And before this, none of these departments usually got along. I could talk for a long time about all the reasons why, because I've worked all of these units, but I will try to explain as quickly as possible. The floor doesn't like the ER because they never give good reports, so usually you don't really know what you're getting. They sometimes send up unstable patients and often send up patients who have soiled the bed and you immediately have to clean them. They sometimes have meds that were ordered to be given in the ER and are hours past due when they get to you on the floor, so you have to play catch up right off the bat. The ER doesn't like the floor because they usually try to prolong getting a new admit as long as possible. They also tend to ask the ER nurse lots of questions which they usually don't have the time to answer, and most of which can be found in the chart. And sometimes the ER nurse has only had a patient for 30 minutes before they are being sent to the floor, so how much could you possibly know by then anyway, especially when you've seen dozens of people that night? And the ICU. Neither the ER or the floor usually get along with the ICU. From their standpoint, the ICU typically during report wants the entire patient's story pretty much from birth until that moment. No, I'm not kidding. They ask tons of questions, and the ICU nurses are notorious for having a bad attitude. If you don't have an answer to their question during report, they aren't shy about it. And most floor nurses would say they aren't really team players. When they have to come work a different unit that's short-staffed and they have 5 to 7 awake and rambunctious patients when they are used to only 2 or 3 that are usually sedated, they typically can't handle it. But from the ICU's perspective, no shit. They work with some of the most critical patients in the hospital. They want to be well prepared so the moment that the patient enters their unit, they don't have to stop and look. They already know and can immediately begin treatment, as oftentimes every second counts. And as far as transferring to other floors, I think when you've worked a certain unit for a long time, it would be rough going anywhere else. I know most floor nurses would lose their mind in the ER, and the ER would probably be annoyed on the floor too. So that's the divide. But during the pandemic, I slowly watched this line blur. There was no attitude or argument. There was support and respect from all nurses. I remember giving a report to an ICU nurse from the ER one night, and I think the phone call lasted about 30 seconds. She said, "I know you're dealing with enough down there. I had time to read the chart. You're good, just send them up." It was that feeling that nurses had each other's backs that helped me through it all, because most days I felt they were all I had when it seemed like the whole world was against us. We were in it together. Nobody really said it, but I could see it in everyone's eyes. We were not going to let anyone drown, not at a time like this. I remember one night in the COVID unit, an ER nurse called to give me a report, And this particular nurse was always so kind and thorough. I told him the same thing that ICU nurse told me. Just send them up. It's okay. I'm ready. And when he got there, he was prepared to stay for a few minutes, offered to help, and I could see the exhaustion and pain in his eyes. And I told him that he had done enough, that he didn't need to stay and help get the patient settled. I knew what he had waiting for him downstairs, and he needed all of his energy for that. And I could see the relief in his eyes. I looked at him and said, we're in this together. And we both cried by the elevator that day. Soon into the pandemic, we had to have security at every entrance, start restricting visitors. I remember vividly the first day we did this, I had to call security on my patient's husband who refused to leave because she was getting ready to have surgery. I had to be the person I didn't want to be, the bad guy. But I had no choice because of hospital policy. I will never forget him screaming as security was dragging him away. Something so gut-wrenching to watch. Or the many phone calls to loved ones to tell them that someone that meant so much to them was gone or was declining rapidly. Before the visitation policy went into effect, one of my patients suddenly died in the ER. The wife had just left maybe an hour prior. I will never forget that phone call. And I will never forget when she came back to the hospital, such a frail old woman, grasping onto her walker with shaky hands as we stand in front of her husband's body, and her looking me dead in the eyes and asking, did he suffer? Right before we blessed his body, she hugged me and cried on my shoulder for what felt like a lifetime. And usually as a nurse, I have a good control over these emotions. They teach you to work first and cry later. You can't do your job if you are crying in the corner. You can cry when you clock out. It's a thin line, they say. But this time, I cried with that woman. In fact, I cried so hard I couldn't stop, and the charge nurse forced me to take a break after. Before this pandemic, I cried maybe a handful of times in my career. Not because I don't care, not because I don't love my patients or feel sympathy or sorrow during those times, but because I learned so early on how to shut those emotions off, to the point where I thought maybe something was wrong with me. But COVID ensured me that I'm still human. Because it broke me down to such a low level that my ability to turn those emotions off at work became increasingly difficult. I cried almost every day on my way home from work, even though I hadn't really cried in years. That tough exterior that nursing enabled me to build was broke down by a global pandemic. There was no tough act anymore. At least not for me. And after some time, when the public panic began coming down, I started to see some rays of light in the darkness. I walked out of work one day to some chalk on the sidewalk, calling us heroes and saying thank you. I don't know who did that, but I cried walking back to my car. It meant that much to me. An ounce of hope. And then some local companies started making face shields and donating masks anonymously. Hell, people were even hand sewing masks so that we had something to protect ourselves. The fact that some people were starting to come around made me feel just a little bit less scared. Because after that gas station incident in the beginning, I started covering up my scrubs on my way to work. I would wear a hoodie so that people driving next to me wouldn't see my scrub top, just in case. Eventually, I finished my contract and went home. Good morning. Day 2. You ready? Dinamo. Ready to hit the road? Sage. Hey. Good morning. Hi. Good morning. The sun is up. Ugh. You ready? You ready? Yeah. Your drumstick is showing. Okay, are we ready? Cinnamon first, because she's a little slower. Hello, you are home. For the first time in 6 months. Weird. Okay. Casey. Do you even remember?
When Liam finally gets to come
Hello.
home,
Oh, You found? Oh, okay. That'll work.
They're all out of soft ones.
Yeah.
These are soft.
Oh.
That black bag in there, you got your checks and your bank card.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know if you caught what my dad said right there, but he was talking about my new bank card. If you remember in the very beginning of this video, when my entire bank account got wiped in something 2019, yeah, it took that long to get a new bank account. Oh, and in advance, I apologize for the profanity in these next clips. I was clearly relieved to be home. I don't ever want to let this go.
Oh.
It's my favorite.
Oh, mega roll.
I know. I haven't seen this in so long. It's been so long. Yeah, I ran out of toilet paper 4 days before my contract ended. And, you know, because the pandemic, you can't find any anywhere. So, you know what I used?
Yeah.
I used napkins from Whataburger. And look at me now. Look at me now.
Yeah. What?
You know what I learned when I was in Arizona?
What?
Arizona is the only place that I've been to where everything comes out hot. I'm talking about the water. So, like, you know how everywhere normal, right? Like, the cold water comes out cold, and then the hot water comes out hot.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, the hot water comes out cold, and then it takes a little bit to warm up, you know? Well, in Arizona, not only does the hot water come out fucking burn your ass hot, but the cold water comes out hot and then takes a few seconds to get cold.
Well, yeah, because it's 110 degrees out there.
I've never seen that anywhere before. I just turned on my hot water and it came out fucking ice cold and I'm like, wait, what?
So what do you think of the cool air? Can you breathe?
Oh my god, it's fucking cold here. I go from 107 to 41 degrees. Are you kidding? I'm gonna probably wake up sick tomorrow. But it feels so good.
Don't say that, because if I would have said that, you would have went down on my ass.
It feels so good, like I can fucking breathe. It's not fucking dusty.
That fog is not fog, it's smog.
Yeah, I know. Look at this. I'm gonna cook the whole fucking package and probably eat the whole fucking package. Watch me. I've been on the road for 2 days. I'm hungry. I can't believe I'm fucking home. I can't believe how fucking green Kansas is. That's what I was telling Heather earlier. I don't remember it being this fucking green. I don't know if I'm like losing my mind. Huh?
It's been raining for 3 days straight.
I've been staring at dirt for almost 6 months. It's fucking green here. There's so much grass and so many trees. I don't remember that. I really don't. Like I told Heather, it looked like I was driving through a green fucking tunnel when I got to my street. There's so many fucking bushes and things. Yeah, I already told Heather I have a lot of work cut out for me because my garden looks like ass. Everything looks like ass. Yeah, my fucking driveway. That was the first thing I noticed.
Like mom's boobs.
Huh?
You're fucking triggered. That's the first thing you fucking said to me when you called.
That was the first thing I said. That was the first thing I noticed. I said, wow, my yard got bigger and I have no driveway. Like, there's nothing. My lawn, she says. You mean my extended front yard. That's what we're calling it now. My extended front yard. That's how bad it is. It's so bad.
Your yard got bigger because of the driveway.
Yeah, she's like, oh, it's not that bad. I went outside and showed her. Yeah. Yeah, it's fucking bad. It's so bad. Yeah, I think that's why, because that's the longest I've been gone. Nobody was driving on it. I still can't fucking believe that cop pulled me over today. Only me. Only me. Oh, the reason I pulled you over is because you pulled 4 inches past the stop sign.
Like, really? But now that I know you may have been exposed to COVID, you're free to fucking go, bro. Like, peace out, I'm done.
can't find my insurance, and I'm digging around, digging for my fucking insurance, and he's over there asking me every question under the sun. Why are you not wearing glasses? Are you wearing contacts? Your license says that you're supposed to be wearing glasses. I'm like, I don't know. He's just making conversation or whatever. I was like, I did not know my license said that, but okay, cool. And he's like, yeah, what do you do for a living? I was like, oh, I'm a travel nurse. He's like, oh, where are you coming from? Arizona? He's like, oh, what kind of nurse are you? Usually cardiac, but with COVID, it's been pretty COVID specific lately. Well, you know what? I'm going to give you a warning. Have a nice day. Bye. He just fucking dipped. I'd never seen I could see the fear. I could see the fear. This is when the protests began and the riots. People were tired of COVID, tired of police brutality, tired of social inequality and racial injustice. It was like the whole world was on edge, fighting for something as basic as simple human rights, which we should not have to fight for. A fight that is still going on till this day because of the country that we live in. And that's when the nightmares started. It was always the same one, although there were two variations. I would be walking through the hallways of the COVID unit in slow motion, wearing my respirator. Nobody else was around. Sometimes the hallway was empty, and other times there were dead bodies lined up against the wall on the floor. I don't know what made the difference each day as to whether there were bodies or not, but I kept having the same nightmare over and over. I started to struggle to go to sleep. I started self-medicating, and I didn't tell anyone. I started smoking weed all day, every day, for weeks, even though I know as a nurse that's a big no-no. But I wasn't working at the time, and I just wanted some relief. I always woke up gasping for air, feeling like I couldn't breathe. One day I woke up and I grabbed my neck so hard I cut myself because I felt like I was suffocating. I didn't know it at the time, but this was the last 2 weeks of Cinnamon's life. I had been sleeping on the floor with her for probably 3 months at this point, and so far with the medicine, not having to hold back on it, she seemed to be doing okay, although I knew she was end-of-life care. She seemed stable until these last 2 weeks. Prior to this, she was walking around the house, and then these last 2 weeks, she slowly stopped walking again, even with the medication. Some people might question why I didn't put her down sooner, but honestly, that's a decision that everyone has to make for themselves, and that was a really hard one for me. And sometimes I question if maybe I should have put her down sooner, but to me, at the time, she was lovey and purring and happy. She just couldn't walk. But I helped her with that, and I thought that was okay, and I didn't mind doing that for her. She stopped sleeping by the bed and started sleeping underneath the futon. And as you know, cats typically find a place to hide when they're getting really close. This is when she really took a turn for the worst. I debated on whether or not putting this clip in, because honestly, I couldn't care to ever see it again. But it's part of her journey, and I wanted to share it. This was the last day that she ever walked. And this was the last day that I ever spent with her. So I said my goodbyes that day, June 19th, and I took her to be put down at 11:41 at night, the day before my mom's birthday. Because it was so late at night, I couldn't take her to the place to be cremated. I had to take her body home and put it in the freezer until morning. And honestly, that's probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. After this, I learned something about cats that I wasn't aware of. Cats mourn. I mean, it makes sense. They grew up together. They were always there together. We went and did everything together. I guess before she died, I never really thought too much about how the other cats would act afterwards. I was always just so focused on her. But after, I started noticing some changes in Panda and Sage. They no longer slept in the same places. They seemed sad, and Panda became really clingy. I mean, she followed me everywhere. And one night, for the first time in Panda's life, she jumped on top of me and lay down on my chest. You see, the thing about Panda, she always slept by my face with her back touching me. But if I rolled over to the other side, she would jump over me and lay back down. She would never walk over me or step on me. In 7 years, she never put a paw on me. She would always jump over me or walk around. But the week after Cinnamon died, she jumped right onto my chest while I was laying on the couch. And she curled up into a ball and just purred. And we laid there like that for a really long time. That's how I knew she was hurting. And I think she knew I was hurting too. Even Sage acted a little bit different. Sage stopped sleeping in the bed with me and wanted to sleep in the living room by herself for a while. It was a new time for us, and we were all trying to navigate it together.
Yeah, that paw print looks so much better than Cinnamon.
I know. It doesn't sound the same though when I say it, because I've said it a couple times and it sounds weird.
What do you mean?
I don't know. It just sounds like empty.
I don't know.
Which is, you know, the name of the game.
So a couple weeks after Cinnamon died was July 4th. And my birthday on the 5th. My family decided that we were going to have a family reunion on the 4th. And I know some people are going to say that we shouldn't have done this because of COVID. And I, of all people, should have known better. But honestly, after several months of dealing with COVID and watching my baby die, I didn't care anymore. My family had been quarantining for a while. And we had been getting tested, which we had always been negative. I hadn't left the house in weeks because I couldn't leave Cinnamon alone, and I was struggling mentally, and I just wanted to go and get out of the house. So I did.
When are you going to start doing
Whatever
some of this
that was.
stupid stuff? Let's go
This week.
catch some toads
Other
and
than
lick
that,
them.
filming for like the next 4 days.
Let's lick
Trying
some
not to slow
toads.
down.
That'd be funny to put on YouTube.
We can
Okay.
get some at Jim
You
and
do it
Susie,
first, I'll be
but
right
I don't
after
think
you.
they do much.
Look, right here. He's vlogging.
Mason! Sarah teaching you to be a YouTuber?
Yeah, I'm teaching him to be a YouTuber, and he's gonna
Alright,
want a
you're having
camera
so much
for Christmas.
Yeah, I want a camera for Christmas.
Honestly, it was just so nice to be around loved ones again. As selfish as it sounds, it brought me back to that feeling of how happy and excited I was when I first got to Arizona in January, before COVID hit. How nice it was not being isolated anymore. And then when COVID hit, I couldn't see my family anymore. For the whole rest of that contract, I just went from work to home, even though I had family 1 mile north of me and 1 mile south of me. I couldn't see them. I couldn't risk getting Jamie sick, and it was hard. And I know a lot of people went through that same thing. So this was nice. But I was still mentally spiraling deep down. It may not appear that way in the video, but I was still self-medicating and struggling. I just wasn't saying anything to anyone and trying really hard not to show it. That next day, on my 27th birthday, I decided that I wanted to get my life back. I wanted to get back to normal, have fun. And so, my sister and I filmed 6 videos for YouTube that day, most of which never made it because I didn't know what was gonna happen when I went home. But here's some of the clips of what we did.
Oh my fucking god! That scared the shit out of me. It went in my crotch.
Look.
Whoa! That's how you make rubber band balls.
You want some?
Any guesses?
Yeah, fucking water, bro.
Yeah, you got it. Take your hands out.
Fucking asshole.
Hey. Hey.
What?
Okay, I'm pretty sure you look pretty beautiful right now.
I don't look human.
1, go.
Oh,
fuck. Oh, fuck.
Good, clean your brush. You got yogurt.
Dude.
We have more fun than the brush. It's just unreal. Let's go right into midnight.
Everyone making it in one piece? Whoa. Oh, cool. Whoa. Shortly after I got home, I got this message from my dad. Jamie had cancer. As if that woman hadn't been through enough, right? This is when I realized that I needed to make a decision. I needed to go back to work. I had been out of work for a couple months, and I needed income. But at the time, I didn't feel ready to take another travel nursing contract. Even though I had planned to travel for another 3 years, something in my gut told me to stay home. So I did. And I took a job at a local nursing home where I used to work years ago because I just didn't feel ready to go back across the country again. And I honestly didn't want to go back to the hospitals. And after talking to them over the phone, they gave me the job. A day shift position. And honestly, it was great in the beginning. I was working day shift for the first time in 9 years. I was finally getting back to somewhat of a normal life, going to work, editing my YouTube videos when I got home, and I was feeling pretty good. At the end of October, we had a COVID outbreak. And honestly, don't you wish you could just... But right before the COVID outbreak, I started having problems with my heart. See, I remember the first day this happened, I had to call EMS to my house because my heart started beating so fast I felt like I was going to pass out. And living alone, I was scared of what would happen if I did. So I called EMS, and my heart rate was 220 beats per minute. It took EMS 45 minutes to get me down to 120. They said that if I couldn't get it down on my own, that they would have to shock me. And so they sat there with me until I could. I took a couple days off of work. And when I went back, it was like stepping into World War III. See, there was a whole fight going on between management and the CNA and the nurses. And I had kind of sensed it before, but it was really starting to get pretty bad. I can't really go into details because of HIPAA, but you know. It was stressful to say the least, and stress was something that I just did not need in my life at that time. I mean, we were just trying to fight the good fight, trying to fight for those residents, for better care, because I felt that they were being neglected. And it seemed like no matter how hard we fought, management didn't want to do anything about it. In fact, they rallied against the nurses and tried to take away our rights. Some of us even went to the state board for help because these residents deserved better. We kept having meetings with management and the board, but we weren't getting anywhere. It was extremely frustrating. Eventually, I started having more of these episodes of my heart racing, my body shaking, and I just couldn't control it. One night I had an episode in my sleep, and I bit down so hard, I guess, that I broke my dentures in half and had to spend $300 that next week to get a new pair. I didn't know what was going on inside of my body, and honestly, I was really scared. So I started going to the doctor, and they ran all sorts of tests, including COVID, which I had already been getting tested twice a week at the nursing home. Everything kept coming back fine, my blood work, and they even scanned my head just to make sure. They tried me on so many different medications during this time for my heart and for anxiety and other things, and nothing was really working. I kept having these episodes. And then at the end of October is when we had our COVID outbreak. We had 60 positive tests that week, but mine initially was negative. Although I had a headache. I mean, the worst headache I've had in my entire life. So I went and got tested at a clinic right around the corner from my house just a few days later, and it was positive. It started with really severe neck pain, which spread up into my head. My neck and my head was hurting so bad that I would have rather re-broke my arm. I started having sensory issues. I was really sensitive to light and sound. I mean, even hearing a train miles away sounded like it was in my ear with a megaphone. I spent many days in the dark, in the quiet, just trying to survive. I constantly felt like my head was going to explode. When I first tested positive for COVID, honestly, a really small part of me was relieved because I had been having weird health issues for a couple weeks before that, and I thought maybe now I had something to blame. I thought maybe this would only be temporary. Maybe it's because of the COVID. But after finishing my quarantine, I kept having these episodes, and they started to get a lot worse. I was having a lot of problems with my vision at this point. Every episode would start with my eyes flashing like strobe lights and my ears ringing so loud I couldn't even hear my own thoughts. And then the heart would start racing and my body would start shaking. And it just felt like I was dying during these episodes. And I know that sounds dramatic, but that's honestly how I felt at the time. My vision was getting so bad that I even went to go see an eye doctor. And they did an MRI of my brain because she thought she saw a tumor in the back of my eye. But with the MRI, the only thing she said was that my left optic nerve was inflamed, but there was no apparent reason why. She said it was probably stress or migraines, but recommended that I see a neurologist. Still really no answer. So I kept going to the doctor, and eventually he recommended that I go to therapy because maybe some of this was anxiety. That first day that I went to therapy, that's when I got the diagnosis. They diagnosed me with PTSD. And honestly, at first, I was a little bit skeptical. I don't know if I was in denial, but it was just hard to wrap my brain around. PTSD is something you hear from people who have been to war or sexual assault victims, not typically nurses, or at least to my knowledge. And if I'm being honest, a part of me felt really weak in that moment, like I let COVID win, and like I was abandoning my other nurses. But one of the first things that my therapist said to me was that you can't sacrifice your own health trying to take care of other people. And she was right. So I started on some medications for anxiety and PTSD and started working through some of these issues. And that's when I realized the signs were there for quite some time. I just didn't know it. It was lurking in the shadows the whole time. And these episodes, now I can call them panic attacks. When I first started this fight against PTSD, I wanted to rush things, and I quickly realized that you can't, not when it comes to your mental health. I wanted to finish my timeline and get back to work and get back to my life, conquer this demon, but it wasn't that easy. I was still having nightmares every single day. They were adjusting the medications, trying to figure out what worked for me. And some days I would go home and just listen to Carly Hansen on repeat for several hours, just trying to block out the rapid thoughts. So as 2020 came to an end, that's when I decided to adopt Pacer. You see, it had been about 6 months since Cinnamon had passed away, and I had been battling with the idea in my head for quite a while. I thought that maybe it would help me mentally, give me a distraction, and finally something good. And I know what you're thinking. She looks a lot like Cinnamon, but I promise you I wasn't trying to replace her. I know that you can't do that. I had looked at so many other cats during this time, but I just couldn't pull the trigger. Part of me felt guilty. Part of me was scared of commitment. But when I saw the ad for Pacer, I knew she was the one. And it's not because she looked like Cinnamon. It's because when I read her bio, I found out she was really sick, and I wanted to give her a chance. They said she had a lot of anxiety and health problems, and since I was going through the same thing, I thought we would be the perfect fit for each other. Panda and Sage were doing better at this point, and I could tell both of them were missing having someone else to play with because they never really liked each other. So I thought that getting another cat would be better for the both of them and me.
Roll around a little bit. You got pee? You got a pee? She's so tiny.
Did you, sweetheart? Yeah, it was crawling, huh?
She's purring.
She's licking me.
She's purring.
She's licking me.
Finally.
You're that good girl.
She's purring.
You're that good girl.
Aww, because she got her box.
Yep.
Aww. Whoa, she's purring hard now. Oh, baby. You're gonna be okay.
You'll be just fine, baby.
At first, she was extremely skittish. If I was sitting on the floor, she would be okay, but as soon as I stood up, she would bolt and go hide. Her anxiety was really bad in the beginning, but I started working with her. Slowly but surely, she started coming around. I would lay on the floor with her and let her get used to laying on my lap, and I would let her be in control. I would let her come to me. As much as I wanted to pick her up and love on her, I waited until she said it was okay. And before I knew it, she pretty well grew out of her anxiety. A lot faster than I thought she would compared to how she was when I first brought her home. You see, they said she had parasites from being dumped on the street and eating whatever she could to survive. And in her health record, she had been treated for that. But when I brought her home, she was still having diarrhea every day, multiple times a day. And I was worried she was going to become dehydrated. So I took her to another vet and we found out that they treated her for the wrong parasites. So after several more doses, because she had that many, she finally cleared up. I mean, I was still taking her to the vet all the way in February of 2021, but she got better. The other cats weren't too keen on her at first, but they started to come around. Pacer was persistent with her love. She wanted to love them so bad. She took a liking to Panda in particular. She would wait until Panda fell asleep and then slowly inch up to her body, close enough to where she could touch her. And she would just be so happy that she could cuddle with her new sister. Panda wasn't much of a fan of this in the beginning. She would wake up and find Pacer cuddled up against her and kind of growl and scoot away, but she's getting more used to it now, which is nice to see. And Sage has a new fetch buddy. See, the thing about Sage is that she's really smart. She likes to play fetch and always has. And something I learned about Pacer pretty early on is that she's smart too. She likes to play fetch. So everything seemed to work out. And during this time, my sister adopted another dog. Meet Marco. Isn't that face so cute? I was happy for her. She was happy again. And then Christmas came around. And the week before Christmas is when I figured out that I was going to lose my house. I had been out of work for so long that I had kind of run out of savings, and I knew that by January I wouldn't have enough for the rent. The week before Christmas, I gave my 30-day notice to the house I lived in for 5 years. Surprise!
Oh my god! I'm calling you because I was gonna call the cop!
I am so excited to see my bed, my bed, my bed. Oh, God. It's better than I remembered. I'm home. Ready to hit the road? Don't go under the bed. Don't do it. Dad says 120, Mom says 119.
Yeah, 119.2.
Cinnamon, are you ready for 2020? We're going back to Phoenix. I'm going to my second travel nursing assignment. This time I'm going to Rapid City, South Dakota. It's pretty well done. I got the recliners and the little couch back here and the projector and all the little knickknacks. I at least accomplished something. Cinnamon, are you comfy? What are you doing? I don't know about it. Hey. Hold your hand out. No, together.
Oh my god, he's being stupid.
Together. Okay, ready? Feel for it? What do you think it is?
Happy.
Yes! It's fresh!
I knew what that was.
All yours.
What'd you give me?
Gas tank.
A gas tank.
Yeah.
And
a Sturgis.
Sturgis 2019.
Hell yeah.
time for 3.5 months. Well, I guess this really is the last time. During this time, my parents also lost their house. They had been renting it for over 10 years and the owner suddenly decided to sell it out from under them, so my parents moved, which was a whole train wreck in itself, and I officially moved in with them, even though I had already been staying at their house most days because of the panic attacks and the new fear of being alone. Shortly after, my brother decided to leave his job at the post office. He wasn't being treated well and was also struggling with anxiety, so he moved in with us too. We were drowning in boxes, and that Christmas, my dad said, was the first time in 55 years there wasn't a present under the tree. But we all agreed that we had a roof over our heads, food in our bellies, and we all had each other, and that was all that mattered. My sister also lost her job in January because her store shut down the day before her birthday. And I remember joking with Dad about how all 3 of his kids were struggling in that moment. Sometimes you just have to laugh through the pain and remember that everything happens for a reason. And even though the therapist advised me not to go back to work, I forced myself to anyway, for a couple different reasons. Because, one, work was starting to not be so supportive. From their standpoint, I had been having these health problems for quite some time now, and I was starting to become an unreliable employee, and that was not my reputation. And also, I wanted to be there for those residents. Instead of working the floor, they put me in an office to work as an infection control nurse, even though I wasn't certified and had no idea what that job entailed. But I was determined to redeem my reputation and work hard anyway, because I felt like this was my last chance with them. So in the first week, I got my certification independently and got them caught up on over 6 months worth of paperwork in 4 days. You see, at the time, they didn't have an infection control nurse, which got them in trouble with state, because the last one had quit when we had our COVID outbreak in October, because she said she couldn't handle it. It was mentally too much for her, which I fully understand. So I stepped in with the promise of being trained to really try to help the facility. It was an office job, 8 hours a day instead of 12 or 13, and it was off the floor, which I thought would be better for my PTSD. But shortly after I started back, Sage got sick. She suddenly stopped eating and went over 5 days without food or water. I tried everything and nothing was working, so I had to start taking her to the vet in January. And at this time, I was already taking Pacer to the vet for her parasites. So almost every day I was getting up, medicating cats, taking them to the vet, going to work, and then picking them up on my way home from work. It was like the worst case of deja vu you could imagine. My anxiety started peaking, even with the meds. Doing a job with no real training, and I honestly think work was upset with me for how long I was gone and was piling things on top of me, almost as revenge. That's really how it seemed at the time. I would go to work and I could tell the difference in everyone's attitudes towards me. Before the COVID outbreak in October, everyone was so friendly and supportive. I knew a lot of the employees from working there a few years prior. Many were still there. They would always say, "I'm so happy you're back and we finally have a good nurse again." But when I got sick, everyone's attitude changed. I think they think that I was just milking it, but in reality, I was honestly just trying to survive every day. In the 2.5 years that I had worked for them before, I don't even think I had 5 call-ins total. In fact, there was more than once where I worked 15 nights in a row just because they didn't have any other nurses and needed help. I never even missed a single day of work when I had my throat cut open for thyroid surgery. I even went to work the day I had my eyes dilated, even though I couldn't see the paperwork. And keep in mind, I was driving an hour and a half to work one way every day, a 3-hour commute on top of everything else. And the one time I actually get sick, all of a sudden, they turn their backs on me. Like I'm someone who does that all the time. I would walk in and go to my office and most people wouldn't really speak to me. And my boss would just pile things on saying, "You need to do this and then that and finish this too." I felt like I was suffocating. I was trying as hard as I could. I even felt like I was losing my best friend. My only friend, because during this time, she was also working there, and she was extremely stressed out. She had been kicked out of her house and was going through her own things. With both of us going through so much at the same time, it wasn't good for our friendship. We started to drift apart. We couldn't really be there for each other like we normally were, and even to this day, our relationship still isn't back to normal. So I lasted about 4 weeks before I quit and realized I needed to put my mental health first. Thankfully, the vet saved Sage's life. She was in near liver failure from not eating for so long and was able to tube her and feed her, and we got her back on track. But then about 6 weeks later, she injured her foot playing fetch. Now I know what you're thinking. My luck with pets this last year has been awful. Prior to 2020, I think my animals had seen the vets just a few times in several years. Now it felt like I was taking them constantly. The bad luck just wouldn't stop. But Sage eventually got better after some medication and resting her leg for several weeks. Heather ended up at a better job just a few weeks later, and my brother became a big source of motivation in our house. He brought his workout equipment with him, and the whole family decided to start working out together. He would coach us through things, motivate us, and it became our new routine. Working out started to play a big role in my mental health. I was never the type to go very long without a job. Even having 6 weeks in between contracts seemed to be too much, and I often went stir crazy. So at the time, I was starting to feel stuck in a rut, living the same routine every day with no purpose, waking up and sitting all day with nothing to do, just waiting until bedtime or my next therapy session. But working out with the family gave me something to do, a goal, which eventually helped push me into other things, like finally finishing this film and starting my own woodworking business from home to hopefully help my parents, as I haven't had income for a while. I haven't sold anything yet, but I'm going to keep working at it and continuing my therapy until hopefully I can come out on top of this. I asked my therapist if she had seen any other nurses for the same reason that I was there. And she said no, nurses are stubborn. She said she had seen plenty of other frontline workers, teachers specifically, and was expecting to see nurses a little bit later on. She told me to not feel inadequate about myself because I'm human and everyone has a threshold. And she said some people reach that threshold before me and some will reach it after me. But it doesn't matter where you fall on that line. So to all the frontline workers out there, I just wanted to say thank you. For those of you that are still going, I'm so proud of you. And even for the ones that aren't, that had to take a step back like I did, that's okay. You are only human, and there is nothing wrong with that.